Okay, are we really talking about this? I guess we are because I already started the video. In case you're wondering, my name is Matt. Welcome to the Sin Bin, the YouTube hockey channel where we talk about everything hockey. Now, as I alluded to in the intro, I didn't think I was going to talk about this subject because I'm not going to lie, I think it's ridiculous. The idea of trading Jack Eichel to another team for me is a little bit ridiculous. I think a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Mark Scheifele, really, really good player, franchise player for the Winnipeg Jets. He said that his choice for the Hart Trophy, and Hart Trophy out of everyone in this National Hockey League, he would give it to Jack Eichel. I don't necessarily agree with him, but I do see where he's coming from in that he's put that team on his shoulders and he has a great skill set. I'm a big Jack Eichel fan. So I've always wondered, where do these rumors come from? Why are we all of a sudden talking about Jack Eichel going to the Boston Bruins? So, like I said, I wasn't planning on making a video about it just based on how ridiculous it was. I finally gave in because A, I want views, not gonna lie. And second of all, we got a lot of hockey writers and actual hockey insiders that are talking about this. Off the top of my head, Joe Haggerty, who's an insider for the Boston Bruins, he's talking about the rumors of Jack Eichel going to the Boston Bruins. So in this video, we're sort of going to unravel it. I'm going to give you my opinion, and like you see, I sort of come on one side, but I'm going to try to rationalize both positions here because there is a rationale to make of Jack Eichel going to the Boston Bruins. Now, first of all, let's look at Jack Eichel's stats. Let's look at what type of season he was having with the Buffalo Sabres before the whole situation went down. He had 78 points in 68 games, and that on a very, very weak team that is the Buffalo Sabres. They haven't made the they haven't made the playoffs in I don't know how long. The year before that, another solid year, 82 points. Before that, 64 points. So throughout his career, more or less, he's always been sort of a point per game type of player. Without a doubt, you guys already know what type of player Jack Eichel is. At this point, I'm pretty much preaching to the choir. One thing you might not know about Jack Eichel, he always struck me as someone who's had the Buffalo Sabres organizations by the you know what, by the manhood, for lack of a better word. For example, he wasn't a fan of Coach Dan Basma. He got Dan Blasma fired. Now, this is all speculation, of course. There's no article that is going to say this. It's more or less an impression I got. He got the team to sign him a very lucrative contract. He got the team to give him a captaincy. He's got that team by the manhood. So I could see a situation where the management of Buffalo sort of has enough. They want to get rid of him because of all of that fame he brings onto the Buffalo Sabres, sort of that aura he has. But on the other hand, don't you sort of want that if you're a team? Don't you want a player that could take your whole team on his shoulders? And sure, maybe he has an over commanding presence, but I really do think that you win with players with like Jack Eichel. And speaking of that $10 million contract that he very easily negotiated, there was no way he wasn't going to get paid a player like Jack Eichel. I don't even think that's that big of a number. I think you could have gotten a lot more, or maybe not a lot more, but substantially more if you were to compare him to Austin Matthews, who I think they're a same type of caliber player. I still think you should shave that mustache, folks. But anyway, Austin Matthews makes $11.6 million, so about give or take 2 million more than Jack Eichel, and that all the way to 2023, 2024. Jack, on the other hand, his contract goes to 2025, 2026. So you get a few more years of Jack Eichel. And while now you might look at $10 million and say, yeah, that's a lot to take on for a team, I think by the end of that contract, you're going to look at that number and say, this is a very good deal. So all of that supports the point of why on earth would the Buffalo Sabres trade Jack Eichel? Now, let's look at the obvious. Jack Eichel has a no movement clause, right? If they want to trade him to Minnesota, for example, and Jack doesn't want to go to Minnesota, he could execute his non movement clause. Now, if you were to be traded to the Boston Bruins, One would be to assume, you guys have seen it in this thumbnail, he played for the Junior Bruins. He's from the area. He's a Massachusetts boy. One were to assume he would waive that non-movement clause to get traded to a team that he probably grew up rooting for. But most importantly, when I look at Jack Eichel, I see a guy who's sort of sour. He's sour of being on a losing team. I've been to a game between the Montreal Canadiens and the Buffalo Sabres, and one thing that really struck me is that on one play, Jack Eichel gave the puck away, and it led to a Montreal Canadiens goal. The Canadiens went on to win it. I think it was 2-0 or something. You could see the frustration. And while he has the captaincy that I talked about, while he has, all of the fans' attention, while he has the management by the BALLS, I'm trying to clean things up on the show, he seems very disgruntled. I'm not going to lie. So, if you look at it through those lenses, a trade may make sense. I understand I'm sort of rambling at this point. I'm kind of throwing my ideas out there. So let's see what the experts say. And when I say experts, we're talking about the hockey writer. This isn't, Joe Blow on Facebook. This is the hockey writer. And like I said, there's been a lot of insiders that have delved into this. So we're going to read a little bit about it. And we're going to talk about which pieces of the Boston Bruins are at stake here if a trade were to happen. Because you guys might notice that they're going to ask for a lot in return for Jack Eichel. So for weeks, there has been speculation that Jack Eichel's time in Buffalo is limited. While the Sabres have made numerous changes to their roster, front office, and coaching staff in the recent years, the team has struggled to turn a corner and to find any success. Let me just skip ahead here. They say that the Bruins forward, Matt Grzelcyk, sorry, the Bruins defender, he's very close friends with Jack Eichel, so they already have that connection. And like I said, he's already connected to that city. On paper, the Bruins would love to have Jack Eichel on his team. He's a 23-year-old. He has franchise-level talent. In reality, though, he hurdles to get a player like Eichel on the Bruins, and it's almost impossible to surmount right now. Why is it impossible to surmount? Well, the hockey writers say that for starters, the Bruins are a division rival to the Sabres. Because of this, the Sabres, who will likely be reluctant to move Eichel in the first place, are even less likely to move him to the Boston Bruins. Now, in case you guys are new to hockey, if you aren't, then I'm sorry, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but teams are often reluctant to trading their star forwards, or any forward for that matter, to division teams because you play more games against those division teams and you don't want that player to hurt you later on. So that's why we often see, for example, Phil Kessel getting traded to the Arizona Coyotes as opposed to the Washington Capitals. They don't want to help any other team that's in their division because that could eventually disadvantage their own team, in this case, the Buffalo Sabres. For sake of argument, though, let's say the Sabres do intend on moving Eichel, and they're fine with him playing within the division. The price would be undoubtedly high for a player like Eichel, but it would cost even more given the divisional factor. That's a very good point. If you're going to overcome that divisional factor, the price is just going to get higher and higher and higher. The Bruins are certainly not going to move players like Charlie McAvoy, let alone a trade that would also have to include other big ticket names on the roster or in the prospect pool. So guys like McAvoy, those key pillars for the Boston Bruins like Bergeron, like Marchand, all of these type of guys, you can forget about it. So pretty much what's left when we're talking about a Jack Eichel trade. I'm going to direct your attention to this article right here that I will let you know, traderumors.me, not the most reliable as sources, but like I said, this comes from a hockey insider, so you can take it however you want. Personally, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. But they're saying if there would be a trade, this is what it would look like. It would involve Michigan center and former first-round pick John Beecher, restricted free agent and winger Jake DeBrusk, sorry, along with a robust high draft pick package. Perhaps you don't get an earth-shattering Eichel deal, including a young D-man like Charlie McAvoy or Brandon Carlo, and that's where the decision can get awfully difficult were it ever get to that point. So if I were to summarize this article and summarize my thoughts in general, I don't think it's impossible to trade Jack Eichel. I started off the video giving him a lot of qualities, a lot of compliments, saying how a lot of players like him. But we know that in hockey, Wayne Gretzky got traded, so Jack Eichel can certainly get traded. We've seen crazier things happen. But if Jack Eichel were to realistically be traded, and that to a division team, the Boston Bruins need the asset to give to the Buffalo Sabres because they're not just going to let Jack Eichel get traded for a bag of beans here. They're going to want something in return. And when we look at that deal, we got John Beecher, we got a high draft pick, and they said Jake DeBrusk. Listen, I like Jake DeBrusk more than the next guy, right? I think he's a very, very good top six, more so second line winger for the Boston Bruins. Maybe if it's a Stanley Cup winning team, he'd be a third line winger. I like Jake DeBrusk. Out of those three picks in 2015, it looks like he's going to be the only one to pan out. But realistically thinking, those of you out there, use your logic. Is this a fair trade? If you were the Buffalo Sabres GM, if you were the general manager, and I understand they've never always had the best manager, but would you make this trade? Would you trade Jack Eichel for John Beecher, Jake DeBrusk, and a high draft pick? Who, let's face it, the Boston Bruins, the way they've been playing the past few years, they're almost never going to get a high draft pick. The answer is no. It's not going to happen. Point à la ligne. Finished. I guess I just made this video because it's been circulating in the news. There's been a lot of rumors, so I wanted to address it. It's never gonna happen. I'm not saying that Jack Eichel won't get traded, but I'm saying that as much as Boston fans might like to see him, and even as a Canadians fan, seeing a guy go back home, become the hometown hero, it's very, very enticing. But given the fact that they don't have the assets, it's like you're trying to buy a Lamborghini and all you have is $5 in a burrito. It's not going to happen. So, those were my thoughts. I hope I didn't bore you guys out. I hope I didn't ramble too much. If you do think I rambled too much, then this channel is really not for you. This channel is really me just rambling on and on and on. So, hey guys, please like and subscribe to the Sin Bin if you like hockey news. More hockey stuff to come. I'm so glad tensions over this whole political things are starting to boil over, and now we can get back to talking about actual hockey and actual rumors. I'm really happy about that, and soon we'll be doing more podcasts. We're going to be talking more about hockey. We're going to have full coverage of the qualifying rounds and full coverage of the playoffs. So make sure to subscribe and make sure to like and make sure to join Discord if you want to continue the chat offline. You can always do that. And as per usual, my name is Matt. Keep your stick on the ice.